marketing automation, how it can help you, and what is the best way to get started. Before we go into the topic, let's cover some webinar logistics. The whole webinar is recorded. We ask you to shut down your camera to save some bandwidth. We generally ask you to mute also your microphone, that we don't have any background noises. We can unmute you at the end if we have some questions. We have a Q&A session at the end. There you can unmute yourself and ask your question. And please let us know if you are okay with everything, if you see the slides and you have you can listen to us in a good quality. So let us know if everything is fine. I'm also going to shut down my camera at the moment, so then it's maybe better. So, and turn it off on the end. Okay. Let's have a look on today's agenda. We will start with a short introduction about myself. Then we have a look on the definition, what is marketing automation and how can it help you? And of course, on the fourth point, how a marketing automation project is done right. We share our experience here. And at the end, we have a closer look to the product that Salesforce is offering us in the field of marketing automation. We will have a closer look to Pardot and to Salesforce Marketing Cloud. At the end, we will have a Q&A session. Regarding the question, you can write it in the chat. If you want to raise a question, we will collect it, and at the end we can discuss it, or you wait until the end and then you can raise your question then. Some little information about myself, who will guide you through this webinar today. As I said, my name is Raphael Steinhöfel. I joined Nexell quite a couple of years ago. It always makes me feeling a little bit old if I see this number, in 2004. I have over 20 years experience in IT, especially in web and digital marketing. I'm also a lecturer on a little school for digital marketing. I started with marketing automation itself with Pardot. That was, I think, 4 years ago. My background is a little bit different. I have a master in psychology, but then I moved into the IT field. Okay, so what is marketing automation? I'm sure you have heard about it and you are interested somehow in it. At least that's one of the reasons you are here today. And there are many definitions out there of marketing automation. And one that I found, and that's mentioned often, is the one that was written by Anthony Bagshaw in an article with the title, What is Marketing Automation? It was published in the Journal of Direct Data in Digital Marketing Practice. He is from the UK. And anyway, you will find other definition of marketing automation, but they have somehow all something in common. Normally, they talk about a software or a web service that is used to automate some processes, especially on repetitive tasks, not on relationship, but on tasks you can do in your marketing, in your digital marketing. They often talk about that it's somehow like a Swiss Army knife, that it's a toolbox you can use for different things. And the general purpose is that you lead your customer through the marketing funnel. So maybe you also have the experience of marketing automation in your daily life. I want to give you some examples. One would be the webinar today. You registered on a website, you received a confirmation mail, you received maybe a reminder, and if we close today, you will receive a link to the YouTube channel, everything automated. That's an example for marketing automation, how you experience in your daily life. If you are on different other websites where you put in a form with your name, email, then you end up maybe in a funnel. And the idea of marketing automation is that you can turn and guide the customer through a funnel from based or started from a simple visitor from a website to enrich the data with email address, for example, and then you nurture them, and at the end you have a loyal customer. So also your data is maybe somewhere stored in a CRM. Another example is, I'm pretty sure that you have signed up for different kind of newsletter, and especially here we have to make sure that it's permission-based marketing. So you have maybe received an opt-in message, all those little automations, that's our example for marketing automation. Other things are especially in the e-commerce sector, maybe you have purchased something in an online store, but it's still, you have not closed the deal, you have still something in your basket, and on the other day you receive a message, hey, you still have a product in our basket, don't want to finish your buy. So different automation like this are examples for marketing automation. Another thing would be, maybe you have been on the biggest store where you, for example, buy clothes or something, and you talk with a friend about some nice shoes or clothes, and you tell them, yeah, you have a look, it's on the right side on the website, but your friend is saying, no, I have a different product here. So the website could be customized on your last visit, on your interest. That's also an example for marketing automation if a website is personalized. So let's go and have a look to marketing automation today, especially in Switzerland. What's the role of marketing automation? I have here some numbers from a Swiss research study from the ZHAW. They covered the topic of marketing automation and the use of it in a survey. They have asked 402 companies in Switzerland, mostly active in the B2B sector, to find out what is the difference between successful and unsuccessful companies related to the goals of online marketing. They made a questionnaire, and that was answered between the 4th August and the 2nd of October last year. And here you see what kind of technologies are those companies using. We have here the top three. It's email marketing, newsletter systems they are using, but also on position 2, we have social media marketing. And on the third place, that's also important to mention, they do search engine marketing. Here it is mixed, optimizing the website for Google, for example, but also paid advertising, Google Ads, for example. So that's very often used. Followed by the next three. Some of them have content strategies. They have a blog. They write articles about some certain topics. They use maybe a CRM or some sales automation. And a lot of companies, of course, use analytics like Google Analytics, Matomo, or something to track the visitors and to have some insights and results there. So marketing automation here is only used by 40% and only used in a basic way. But interesting is that those companies who are saying they are successful, 72% of them, they are using marketing automation and the others don't. So that's why interesting. It might be that there is a relationship between, or correlation between, marketing automation and the feeling of success. So how can marketing automation help you in your business? That's the same question they have also asked those 402 companies, and that's the result of it. So they are saying that marketing automation, if you run it for a certain time, it should be, or it is, a huge time saver, especially for the repetitive task. The next big thing with the same amount of percent is that they're saying, finally, we can start to personalize communication. So I can imagine they are using newsletter with a personal greeting, or even with the content in a newsletter itself, it could be personalized. Other points are that the quality of leads is getting better. They have, based on that, I guess, they have more conversions, and that they have an improved customer care and more loyal customer. And I guess if you start also using those technologies and the way they work, you collect more leads. And the last thing to mention here is that they're saying, based on the automations they do, they can respond quickly and faster, of course. So we have done in the last 3 years a couple of marketing automation projects, and we have made some experience here, and we want to share that with you, how go through such a project, or what you should be aware if you think to start with. We have collected 8 different criteria. First, we see it's important to handle a marketing automation implementation as a project, even if it's an internal project. Of course, it should be aligned with your internal marketing strategy, and this should be aligned with your main business strategy. It needs some decisions, like choosing a solution or a partner, and maybe the focus first should be on a simple thing. If you have a new tailored solution, you should really test it, because it always can have error, also technically speaking. You should warm up your team with trainings. And after the launch, you will collect some data. And in a last step, you have to analyze those data and to optimize it. But let's go a little bit more into detail of those steps. Again, how to start. As I said, it's very important to handle it as an own project. If you have a project, you have to define who should be in the team. It's very important. That's not only the marketing team involved. It's quite important that you also align with sales, and maybe that you have something from the business side on your stakeholder team too. You have to define always in a project a budget, because it will cost money in the beginning, especially in the beginning, to save money in the future. As it is a project, you have to make sure that you define a timeline. You have to split it into different milestones. You have to think what could be a first step in this field. And what's quite important here, that you think of change management. You will start with a new tool. You start with maybe new processes, and you have to make sure that the people that are using this tool, using this technology or this approach, that they are comfortable with. Let's have a deeper look on the second step. The alignment with your strategy. It's very important that you define goals for this project measured by KPIs. What could be an example for this? For example, we want to automate 40% of our marketing processes. Or something different, we want to generate 5% more leads and measure that. Or we want to connect all our sales and marketing data in a single source of truth. Also, this could be a goal. But it's always good if you define your goals in a smart way and to measure them. A next important step is what we normally do in a workshop is to define buyer persona. What is a buyer persona? Maybe you know that. It's a fictional representation of your ideal customer. It could be based on market research or on your real data of your existing customer. And when you create something like this, it's very important that you include also some demographics, maybe some behavior patterns, motivations, also frustration that could have a persona have in the journey. And here it is, the more detailed you are, the better. Buyer personas, they provide a tremendous structure and insight for your company. A detailed buyer persona will really help you and focus you to guide you through the product and also for the product development. The next thing is, if you have a buyer persona, then you should map the journey. You should do a customer journey map. And in there, you list all your touch points. If they are existing or if you want to have them in the future, map it. It helps you to tell the story of your customer experience with your brand across all the touch points you have. You might have different phases here. This is only an example. And of course, you have maybe different channels or you're not using all the channels that are listed here. Even if they are digital, that would be on top, or non-digital, like print products, direct mails, or something like this, that's on the bottom. So this exercise normally helps us to detect where we can start with automations, where we can put in some processes that we do at the moment maybe manual, but in the future we can do this based on our automation tool. And based on the results, you will see or you will have an information about the data you're going to need. Maybe you have this data already. Maybe you don't have it in any case, or the quality is bad, but it will raise the discussion about data quality of your current data and data you maybe you have to collect in the future. The next point is that you have to do some decisions. So based on the results you have from your customer journey and the data discussion, you can write down some requirements, some specifications. And based on that, you can evaluate a tool, which one is better for you, what would fit and exactly is the best one for your case. So you have to decide a tool, a software you are going to implement. And with the implementation, you will also find a partner with a lot of experience in that field with this tool. So if you do the implementation here, we always say that it absolutely makes sense to start simple. Think about what would be a first use case. What would be a quick win? A quick win is also important that your team is getting more and more involved, that they see, okay, we have a benefit if we use things like that. So that's also from a business perspective, it's very important that you start with something simple, but with a quick win. That helps you and your team to accept the new tool and maybe the new processes you have. The other thing is if you start with something before you launch the whole thing, it's quite important that you test a simple user story. For example, that could be you write that down in a user story, and let's say it's something like the marketing team wants to send out newsletter on a monthly basis to re-engage existing customer. How can they do that? How can they do that quickly? Is the system working? Are the newsletter not landing in our spam box or things like this? Write down your test criteria, test it, and protocol your test results. And then you go back to your implementation partner if you have found some errors or some problems or things you can do better and improve it before you go live. In the next step, we recommend that you gain some knowledge. You gain some knowledge about modern marketing strategies, but also technologies. You have to learn the tool that you're going to use. You have to gain the knowledge and collect the knowledge that you have it inside your company. That's very important. You can do trainings with your implementation partner. And if you're working with the Salesforce products, I want to mention here Trailhead. Trailhead is a very nice website where all the products are pretty good documented. There are some learning modules about all the products, and there is some gamification. You can earn some badges if you do little tests and stuff like that. And you can also integrate Trailhead in your own CRM. If you have employees that you want to show what kind of modules they have to learn to have success with the new tools. And you can also monitor that, of course. So if you have all those 6 steps, we are ready to go live. As soon as we start with a first case, we will collect data. It's the first time we have some data back. We see what is working, how good it is working, maybe some open rates, maybe some conversions. We have the first time some data in our system based on the new methods we are going to use. And of course, you have in a last step to optimize that. You have to analyze your data, maybe adapt a little bit the things, and then you can proceed. You can go back to step 4, and you have the next use case to implement. So let's have a look now on what Salesforce is providing. Salesforce in the past has purchased a lot of products in this area. The first one I remember was Pardot, and the second was Marketing Cloud, or let's say Marketing Cloud is a couple of products they have purchased. But let's go deeper here. Pardot is often mentioned as a B2B tool. It's totally integrated in your sales or service cloud, especially now with the new Lightning app. It's like an app you install in your Salesforce, and with a single sign-on, you have direct access to this tool. You don't even feel that you switch the software because it's like inside your CRM. You can track the website visitor. That's the goal of it. It's a tracking software, and it's especially good in email marketing. So you track your visitor on the website, you turn them into leads by collecting some data, and you can nurture them by email and convert them into customer. So it's really to collect leads and nurture them and convert them. Marketing Cloud is something different. It's also important to say that Pardot is not a part of Marketing Cloud. So we have 2 different solutions here. And this one is more mentioned to use in the B2C sector. In fact, it is a collection of different tools. So we have tools for almost every channel. We have email, but we can also send out some push notifications for mobile or MMS, SMS. We can also push messages in our social media channels and monitor them. We have an analytics solution inside and a lot of different other tools. So it's really cross-channel. You can cover with Marketing Cloud, you can cover the whole customer journey with more or less all digital touch points. Before we go deeper into the difference, they have also something in common. I mean, both solutions are in the cloud. Both have centralized data management through Sales or Service Cloud. They are both good to connect with the Salesforce CRM and synchronize with them. Both are for medium and large companies or NGOs. We have also a couple of NGOs that are using it. And both having a large community through Salesforce, of course, and both are quite powerful. So if you have to decide between those two solutions, you can help yourself by answering 4 questions. But before I go to those questions, it's quite important to say sometimes even both solutions can fit. So we have had also some examples where the recommendation was to use Pardot and Marketing Cloud together. But let's say you have to choose for one of them. You can ask, who are your customers? What is your marketing mix? How big is your database? And what is your sales process? Let's have a look on the answer for the first question. So if you mainly work with businesses and organization, and you have not that large customer base, and you have more high value deals, then Salesforce Pardot is your solution. If you are more in the individual B2C place, then I would say use Marketing Cloud because it's for a high volume of customers. I always have in mind in the e-commerce sector, if let's say you can buy some shoes or something, then you have transactional sales. That's not something you have to explain a lot, or it's a long process. So then Marketing Cloud would be a better fit. Based on the question, what is your marketing mix, is Pardot especially the right solution if you focus on email marketing. You can also connect through integrations, Pardot through the mobile channel, that's possible, but mainly the focus is on email marketing. If you want to track your website visitor, then Salesforce Pardot is the right solutions. There are some integration to social media channels. You can also post with Pardot into LinkedIn, for example, but I'm not a big fan of it because we have some experience that's not fitting with images and stuff like that. You can also integrate things like GoToMeeting, GoToWebinar. There are some integrations also with live chat. But if you want to have all your digital channels and you want especially focus on email and mobile and social media, then Marketing Cloud is a better fit. Based on the size of your database, if you have really a large database, then you should, 100,000 of contacts, let's say that, then Marketing Cloud could handle that definitely better. There is something like a database, it's called data extension. You can import there your data if you have it in another system, or you can also integrate it with different kind of sources and bring in your data in a so-called data extension. On the other hand, if your database is smaller, it fits also to the other questions. You should use Salesforce Pardot. You can import also there CSV files into a list. And of course, you can collect on your website data with a form on a landing page and bringing some data, some prospect data to raise your customer database. The last question is based on your sales process. So if you want to track your visitor behavior and see what kind of activities they are doing on your website, then Pardot is a better fit. We have forms there. You can create forms. You put forms on landing pages. You can do email campaigns. You can nurture your existing customer base. And what's very interesting, you can also score your leads. You have a different points you can give to a customer who is visiting a certain page on your website or opening an email. So there is a lead scoring and grading system, and you can use this for segmentation. And based on the segmentation, you can do other campaigns that could be a starting list for the next campaign. If you have more logic-based automations, let's say a confirmation after something is bought in your shop, then it's more Marketing Cloud. If you want to do this again across all channels, and if your sales process is totally online, then you should have a closer look to Marketing Cloud. So here now I have some screenshot for you. I cannot make a detailed demo. I think that would not fit in our webinar for time reason here, but to give a little bit an idea how are those solutions looking. Here we see the dashboard of Marketing Cloud. You see on top you have different kind of so-called studios, and behind those different studios are the different solutions, it's like a different kind of software. For example, Email Studio is clear. You can create newsletter and send them out. Mobile Studio is for SMS, post notification. Social Studio is a very nice, great solution. It was earlier called Radiant 6. It's for social media content, but also to push it and to monitor some engagement of your customers in the social media channel. Even if you want to organize your ads, Google Ads, for example, you have Advertising Studio. And you can create some landing pages, preference pages for your newsletter stuff with Web Studio. And you have a lot of other builder and stuff you see on top. We see also that you have some journey templates, for example, abandoned cart templates for your shop, or if you have the birthday date of your customers, you can send out congratulation emails or coupons and stuff like that. On the other hand, a closer look to Pardot, it looks a little bit simpler. It's totally integrated, as I said, into Salesforce. Have a look on top. So this is your Salesforce environment. You go to the app switcher, select Pardot, and then you see something like this. It will give you some feedback, how many prospects you have created. A prospect is defined by a visitor who has turned into a prospect by naming the name and email address through a form, for example. So that looks quite easier. And as I said, totally integrated into Salesforce. Here we have another screenshot of Marketing Cloud. I switch again back, where you can add some, I always say, logic trees or some logic behind some automations. Here it is interesting that you see a data extension. A database could be the start of your entry source, but also directly your data from your CRM. It could be Salesforce. You can directly pull information out of Salesforce. Based on a campaign, you can start with an email, you can then split it. Maybe the customer wants to be reached on an SMS, or maybe you have a series of welcome emails or a push notification or whatever. You can track the behavior and then do other action as well. Something like that we have similar in Pardot. It's called Engagement Studio. It's a little bit different. Here you start always with a list in terms of list of prospects you have collected, or you have created their own segmentation based on your customer base. And then you can start with an engagement program. It's also called drip program. And as you can see here, we start also by sending an email. Then we wait a little bit for an action. Was it opened or not opened? What was a link clicked or something like that? So we can track everything on that. And based on the behavior, we do next action as well. And here we see already that was running. This campaign, it was a so-called nurturing campaign for cold leads with no activity. And we have some statistics here collected. A last thing I want to show is quite important. That's always a question. How easy is to build an email? How easy is to build in those tools a newsletter, for example? And both solutions are quite similar. They have an email builder with drag and drop functionalities. They are both not perfect. I recommend definitely here to test everything. Also with some external services, maybe Litmus or something is good for email testing, that it looks all the same on different clients. So, but in general, you have a normal layout view. You can also change, if you are familiar with HTML, into a code view. Of course, you can do some testings and stuff. So that's quite easy and looks in both solutions quite similar. You have also this step-by-step approach. The system is guiding you for building emails, testing it, and send it then out through your campaigns. Okay, that's it, more or less. So we are already here in the Q&A session. You can now unmute your mics to raise some question, or maybe Emma, you're helping me and naming the questions that have been raised during the time. I hope you learned something. We will, after this session, we will send you an email with the video link to the webinar. And yeah, we are open now to your question.
Thanks, Raphael. There's no question that has been taped, so if you'd like to just voice them out, it will be great. Thank you.
Okay, any questions here? No questions?
No, this is Dirk. I have a question for you.
Hi, Dirk. Yes, please, go ahead.
I understood that both solutions replicate the data. Is this true? So that Salesforce data will be copied depending on the marketing solution you will use?
This is partly true, yes. Of course.
Can you give me some background there? Why is this? Wouldn't it be much easier to reuse the data we have already?
Mm-hmm. So what you said is partly true. So based on the marketing you want to do, you need some data you have in your system, right? Like name, pre-name, and email address, for example. And part of the data you keep only in one of those solutions. So it could be a strategy that, for example, interests or something. That's not so important to have interest in your CRM. So you keep it in Pardot or Marketing Cloud. But maybe your sales team also want to have a look on interests of a customer, and then it makes absolutely sense to sync those data you have collected maybe with a survey, with the marketing automation, or by a form, to have the data back in your CRM. So it's really a question of your strategy. Yes. Is that answering your question?
Yes, this is answering my question. Thank you.
Okay. So it could make sense to have all data synchronized, but maybe only part of it.
Would it be possible to don't synchronize data at all, but just use everything or all data points from Salesforce?
No. As you will always have as an own database in
Okay.
the solution on its own.
Okay. Yeah.
It's not like, I know what you mean. It's not like that you connect it through an API and it's getting the data at the moment it's needed. It's really, as you said, cloning the data. It's part of the strategy if you clone or synchronize everything or only parts of it.
Yeah. Background on my question was, in the past, I worked a little bit with Eloqua, and
Okay.
Eloqua is taking exactly the same approach. But this is a third-party tool, and now those two are part of Salesforce, and I was wondering why they take the same approach.
Yeah, that maybe it's also historically because it's like an external tool still, Yeah. Okay, more questions? Okay. So I would like to thank you, all of you. Feel free to contact us if you have more questions on the topics. We are here to help and answer your question, if it's to marketing automation on its own, or is to a question to one of the solutions that Salesforce is providing. Okay, then we close this webinar, and I wish you a happy Easter.
Yes, and thanks a lot.
You too.
Same
Thank
for you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
bye-bye.
Bye.